John.
Hi, Marty.
Here we are, the first podcast of November.
Oh, dang, that's right. It's like 2021. It just always surprises me. The day surprises me how far into the future I have traveled.
Indeed, and
Hmm
continue to.
And continue to with gusto.
Exactly. And with curiosity, openness, and willingness.
Yes.
So it's Marty Keller here in Sacramento, and this is the Intentional Living Podcast. We've been having this conversation for over a year and a half now, and we're talking about the revolutionary accountability practice, a methodology by which we work with our higher power to change the world, that we experience, and to change it into something that is of our choosing.
hmm
That's the word intentional. I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, and community. And what this comes out of is a completely different worldview that is embedded in our childhood trauma. For
Right.
most human beings, and I would suggest actually every human being has some level of trauma, which we describe as some form of violence, emotional violence, physical violence, sexual violence, whereby the experience of a child is altered and altered in a way that is painful.
hmm
And this leads to a feeling with as we say in adult children of alcoholics, a feeling of abandonment. I'm all alone, and that feeling for a little kid is feels like death. We often apply the term existential. It threatens the existence of the child, and so as children, we don't have any wherewithal to dialogue and say, "Hey, mom and dad, this ain't working for me."
Right.
All we can do is generate an emotional response that we as adults can call a defense, and it has the effect of essentially compacting this trauma into a dark space where it's still alive because it's still looking to be released,
hmm
still looking to be healed. And for years and years and years after these original traumatic experiences, we find ourselves feeling compelled to say things, believe things, attack people, criticize ourselves in ways that our adult rational mind goes, where is that coming from?
Right.
And so you developed this practice, which we call the accountability practice, because it starts with our capacity to account for what's going on with me, to be able to learn to speak the truth of our experience. And once we find the truth of what's really going on, reaching into that compacted, traumatic, emotional reality, we will experience an emotional release once we speak that truth. And in that experience of emotional feeling, oftentimes for me, it was accompanied by a great deal of tears and sobbing, and which is actually one of the ways the body's just releasing, like a dog shakes the water off its back
hmm
after rain. It's one of the ways our bodies just release stored trauma. Into that experience, we can now speak a new truth. What do we want instead? And one of the things that I wanted to raise with you today is how all of this is part of our brain chemistry. And it's a neurologically based challenge that part of the reason it seems difficult for those of us who do this work to effectuate the shift is because it's part of the, one might even say, hardwiring of our neurological system, our brain, and the different glands that secrete acetylcholine and adrenaline and all the other things that are part of the brain system, the neurological system. And that part of the opportunity and challenge here, at least from my perspective, is that in order to deal with this fact that my brain has been hardwired into support this defense that little Marty created without volitional choice, but just as a response, a reaction to the experience that I had, is that my brain chemistry organized itself to support that. And that's one of the reasons that I still, in given circumstances, have the same reaction, a negative, defensive, emotional reaction that I've been exhibiting forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that accountability offers us a way out of what seems to be the stuckness of that. Because the good news is that the brain is plastic, the brain can change. And I suspect, and I'd like to maybe start here with your thoughts, that the way we do this accountability practice actually has the effect of helping rewire the brain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, the neural pathways that create patterns of behavior. And I coined them reaction responses. Instead of being proactive, I find myself reactive. And it's tied right into what you've been saying, is that the trauma has created a response based on what we call triggers or frequency that is similar to our childhood frequency, and our body reacts without our conscious awareness, because the trauma is held in our subconscious. And everybody can accept that once I put my hand in fire, and pulled back and noticed and felt the hurt, the next time my hand gets close to warm and unfamiliar, it automatically pulls back. That's the reaction response. The reaction response is now embedded in a behavior. When somebody raises an eyebrow, my response is, who do you think you are? What did I do wrong? I didn't do it. Why are you looking at me that way? And all those articulations are a reaction response to something that's been in my past and has gone away. And yet the familiarity of the frequency that I perceive in the other person puts me on alert, and my body, well, if it was warm and I burnt my hand, I would be pulling back. Now, in a committed relationship, I find myself pulling back and wanting to get out when we could be in a conversation about something that is delicate with me, and I automatically go to, okay, I'm out of here. And that's my reaction response. Instead of listening and dialoguing and negotiating and planning, I'm reacting to what happened to me. Well, for me, it was 65 years ago. And I don't know it. So it's in the 3 questions. Have you ever hurt somebody, regretted it, and then did it again, usually in the same way? Yes. Have I ever been in an argument with somebody and realized in the middle of the argument I'm on the wrong side of the argument and find myself continuing with my argument anyway? And the third one is, have I ever been in a situation where I knew what I was about to do, clearly knew I would regret, and I even heard a little voice in my mind say, stop, don't do that. And I found that I couldn't or wouldn't stop that behavior. Those are examples of reaction responses that are below my conscious control, because my subconscious body says, danger, danger, Will Robinson, and pulls back when the actual trauma, again, happened 60, 65 years ago, and I'm still in the reaction response. And I have no idea. This is not a table talk in our families. They're around talking about, oh, I wonder what was in your subconscious today that look at. It's like there's not even an awareness that the subconscious has an effect on our behaviors. So if that's true, then there's somebody to blame or something to judge. or somebody to find fault in. Either they're wrong or I'm wrong, and I don't want to be wrong, so it's obviously it's them. And I get into this was adversarial communication, and nothing's going on in real time. It all happened years ago, and I'm still stuck in the body chemistry of the response. So whatever the trigger frequency, a raised eyebrow, I go into a body chemistry, which is for the most part an adrenaline rush, because my body thinks I'm about ready to get hurt, so it goes into a defense mode: fight, flight, freeze, please, or fawn. And again, I have no idea this is happening in my subconscious, so I think I need to figure out how to get out of this. And the subconscious mind not only holds 7/8 of the information, it is the power part of our mind, which our rational mind does not trump. Our subconscious mind can process 4 million bits of information per second. Our conscious mind can process, and this is what I heard, 4 bits of information per second. Even if it's 400, it's sorely at a loss compared to the subconscious. So the subconscious mind gets me in a reaction response before I can even think about what's going on. The accountability intentional living material puts a space in between the stimulus and the response. So and now it's not a reaction response, it's a proactive response. It's real time, and I can be lucid in the moment, maybe feel the fear of the raised eyebrow and go, okay, this is the person I love, so let me check out what she was raising her eye. She may have something stuck in her eye. She may she may be like curious, or she may be, but I automatically go to, okay, there's something about devastating about to happen to me. So yeah,
I remember when
it's go ahead.
no, I just say, just to give you another example of that from my experience, I remember when I moved to San Francisco in 1983, and I started working as a salesman for this printing company, and a very, very kind and wonderful guy hired me, and he mentored me in this business. But I still had that, as they say in Adult Children of Alcoholics, fear of authority figures. So he was an authority figure, even though he was friendly and kind and wonderful and approachable. And so I would every once in a while get back to my office, and there would be this little sticky note on my desk that would say, "See me." And I would immediately go into, I'm getting fired. It's like
Right.
every single time I would see a sticky on my desk saying, "See me," that finger in the flame response was there. I'm in deep trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I was never in deep trouble, ever from
Right.
any of those requests to meet with him. It was just that programmed, automatic, 4 billion bits a second, whatever you called it, response that's just, it's there. And
Yeah.
the accountability practice, again, as you said, helped me. Not then, I didn't have accountability back then, but subsequently it
Right.
helped me notice whenever those triggered response would occur. They don't stop happening, but they're no longer in the subconscious. They're actually now something of which I'm aware, of which I'm conscious.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference in
Mm-hmm.
the world, because now, as you said, I have the capacity to make a different choice in how to respond.
You're aware of them because you've given attention to what caused the reaction response. So my reaction response to a raised eyebrow was in my infancy or my toddler or my childhood, where somebody close to me, I'm thinking guardian, mother, father, raised their eyebrow and I got smacked, or I got humiliated, or I got ridiculed, or I got ostracized from the room. And that was a death threat to the child, and a fracturing of my emotional body. and a shutdown happened, the abuse happened, and now it's equated to whatever the stimulus was back then. And it could be, and it's more, I'm using the example of raised eyebrow. It could be just a certain look that creates a frequency
Or a
that I
tone of voice.
perceive, or a tone of voice, or a posture, or a hand on the
Yeah.
hip. And then I go into this childhood reaction response because my survival mechanism says that's how you survive this situation right now. You shut down, you go away, or you attack, you start screaming and yelling and meet force with force, or overpower the force coming at you. And those are all tactics of survival and don't work really well in an intimate relationship. I even used to use the battlefield language. Oh, she's attacking me. She's taking a pot shot. She wants to cut my gonads off. She's out to get me. Um, and that's how and what that, before I knew this, that was my truth. She's taking a pot shot at me. Well, that's combat zone. That's a place where you need to defend and protect and shoot back. And now I understand that it's simply either a request or a mood or a frustration or which she gets to have her feelings and her perceptions, and I can engage with her, even when her object of anger may be me. There may be something I did that she wants to say that was unfair, or that hurt, or don't do that to me. I can now engage and go, oh, okay, that sounds reasonable to me, and be a partner in adult real life, where before I couldn't do that.
So in line with the conversation opener about the neurology of all this, would you say that that capacity now to be aware is evidence of a rewiring of the brain that now accommodates that new way of being reacting to these energy, these triggered responses?
Yes, yes. My reaction response is a neurological pathway that is, like a rut, or a well-used pathway that automatically goes. It's like the hand in the fire. When I feel the warmth and it's unfamiliar and I don't know, I pull back until I can like find out what's really there. Same thing happens. That pullback is hardwired into us based on our experience of being burnt or hurt. And it's me pulling back was proactive, and the way I survived and not got burnt. I could not do that. And as a child, I didn't have, and we're not talking about being burnt, we're talking about being abused and or humiliated or chastised. I didn't have the wherewithal to be proactive. I was a receiver and a sponge. So whatever they said was true about me, I soaked up as my truth. I'm not worthy. I'm the problem. I'm a burden. I'm a pain in the ass. Um, I make them feel. So all those things become hardwired. Um, the saying of those creates a neural pathway into a defense mode or an attack mode or a freeze mode or a please mode. And I found myself apologizing to people. I say consistently, I just say hi to them. Now, oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. And it's like I just kept apologizing for me just being alive. That was the please mode. I didn't want to make anybody mad. I didn't want to ruffle feathers, or create the condition in my childhood where the people at that time, doing the best they could, um, were abusive and or unable actually to connect to me on an emotional feeling, child guardian, guiding kind of way. And it was all about, don't do that, you're wrong, instead of, oh, wow, I bet that's frustrating. I can see you're frustrated, and mirror it for me so that I could understand what I was going through, come to a recognition and learn. I learned, in my adult life, emotional regulation, impulse control, frustration tolerance, and delayed gratification. I learned that in my 40s, where I could have learned that with a loving guardian parent in my infancy, my toddler childhood, where I would be mirrored and nurtured through that process of developing an emotional regulation. I have a grandson, 6 years old, and he's learning emotional regulation. It's messy. It's like, let's go to the store. No, I don't want to. And it's like, okay, I'm hearing you say you don't want to, and we're going to the store, and would you please put your shoes on? Well, I don't know there. I don't want to. No, okay. I see you're frustrated. I can help you find your shoes. I don't beat him up because he's trying to like figure out how to negotiate with people. And that's what he's learning, is how to negotiate. And his style of negotiation is, no, I don't want to. You're mean. I don't like you. And it's so powerful to notice my response to my grandson, know that he's going through emotional regulation, and that he's learning how to communicate, how to gain impulse control, frustration tolerance, and delayed gratification. And then I firmly set the boundaries for him. And what's working for me now is, we're going to the store, we're going this or doing that. And he said, no, I don't want to. And I say, okay, I'm going to go out to the car, and when you're ready, come out. And instead of making him do it, I just move to what I'm going to do. And as a 6-year-old, he doesn't want to be alone. So he follows me out. He may still be learning emotional regulation. This happened the other day where we were going to the store, and I said, okay, I see you don't want to go. I'm hearing you say I don't want to go. I don't redefine his reality. I said, okay, I'm going to go out to the car, and when you're ready, come out. And so 2 minutes, he was carrying his little shoes, opened the back door, threw the shoes in there, was bagging around. And I just like took a breath, and I heard myself say to him, I don't like the way you're treating me right now. Because he was hitting things and raising his voice. And he got quiet, and he goes, sorry, Grandpa. And I said, well, thank you for that. And I started the car. He buckled himself in, and we went on about our day and enjoyed the store, the park, every place he didn't want to go. He was like, do we have to go now? It's like, no, we don't have to go now. We can wait. And it's just so amazing to know that he's learning a sense of self. He's learning how to be in his body without being punished or chastised or ridiculed or told he's wrong. And through this process, he's learning what works for him and what doesn't work for him. And as an adult, that's huge to know, oh, this isn't working for me. The way I just treated this person is not working for me. Oh, okay. I was attached to my behavior. I'm a bad boy. So I became a bad boy. And as an adult, that manifested in all my behavior and patterns of behavior, alcoholism, abuse, tardiness, being late for everything. Okay, so it's just in alignment with what I was told. He's not being told that. So when he learns this regulation process, delayed gratification process, frustration tolerance process, he'll simply learn how to negotiate with somebody that he's either attracted to or is friends with. And not to say that it won't be a struggle, because where I'm at with what I know, there's still struggle in life, and I'm participating well in that struggle. And it has to do with me, first of all, just noticing that I'm in a reaction. I'm not in a response. I don't have the ability to respond to what's happening. I'm reacting to what's happening. The reaction response stimulates the adrenal glands, which puts adrenaline in my body so that I can fight, flight, freeze, please. So I can do these things to survive, where it's, and I'll use the example of burnt toast. Nothing's really going on that is life-threatening. To that child, being chastised or somebody being angry with you was a death threat. So the neural pathways got locked in with the body chemistry of adrenaline. And as an adult, I got addicted to excitement, adrenaline, stress, chaos, drama, and didn't understand why my life was so stressful and chaotic and full of drama. It's like my body was actually asking for that so they can prove that I can survive. And that's not really a correct statement, but I was stuck in this pattern of behavior that reproduced the adrenaline state, which my body knew that's how to survive. My body didn't know how to survive on serotonin, the feel-good drug, because I never experienced, I want to say for the most part, as a child, there were times with my grandmother, or we'd go camping, or my parents would be in a lucid moment where it felt loving or it felt connecting. Those things happen, but for the most part, I experienced life as some kind of adrenaline or cortisols or stressors. I was in a stress mode all the time. And calmness, balance scared me. It's actually, I don't know what to do in there. I do know what to do with stress and chaos and drama. I absolutely know how to do that. But if everything's cool, I used to call it bored. I'm bored. Well, one time somebody suggested to me early in my recovery, they said, John, would you consider that boredom is actually the serenity that you're looking for? And it's like, oh, free of chaos and drama, free of stress, free of the reaction or the need to either hit somebody or run. Oh, that's what serenity is. And the only thing I could equate it to was bored. It's unexciting. It's like dull. I'm dull. You're dull. It's like I'm out to do. So I'd the car and drive around fast or whatever I did, or start an argument, or so. Yeah, neural pathways, body chemistry changes in the accountability process where I just simply own the pattern, own the adrenaline state. I'm mean. Okay, I'm mean is in alignment with what happened to me as a child. My survival mechanism go, oh, you're paying attention. This is like counterintuitive. I say I'm mean to the point of cruelty, which I was. I was mean to the point of cruelty. I was mean to the point of cruelty because that's how I kept safe. People stayed away from me. I was isolated. I didn't have to the healthy interaction as a child, exuberance, adventure, spilling milk, breaking something as I'm running through, being a cop and robbers, cowboys and Indians, what became the caution place where I'm in my adventure. I no, I got to pay attention, because if something happens, I'm going to get slapped, or I'm going to get sent to my room, or I'm going to be told I'm stupid. So my actual vitality for life got traumatized. And when I became an adult, I mean, the descriptive words were like stoic, unfeeling, which all those were true. And if you ask me, I'll tell you it's true. No, I don't have emotions. And yet my emotional body is my connection to my vitality, to my sense of curiosity, not only to my sense of safety, fear, fight, flight, freeze. That's also tied into my well-being, but it became the primary place, neural pathway. And always in the 12 steps, we call it hypervigilant. I became hypervigilant to any nuance that was out of the ordinary that I was not in control of. So I'll stop.
So part of the reason I asked the question that I did is because I want to share, particularly with the newcomer, that even though the trauma body, we could call it that, are sort of echoing Eckhart Tolle, even though that is a neurologically based experience, so too is recovery.
Yeah.
And so too, so when I said earlier that the good news is the brain is plastic, I notice in my experience, having done this work for 10 years, that I may still have the automatic response, but I also have an automatic response of awareness.
Yes.
So it's like, it's this sort of what I think you were giving an example of that yourself. It's that, like I stub my toe, and immediately the thought of you stupid,
Right.
you stupid, unathletic, clumsy oaf. And at the very same time, there's, oh, here comes that response again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a shift. It's not that the original traumatic response is gotten rid of. It's that there is a new response, a higher response that
Mm-hmm.
we might call it compassion, whatever word makes sense, that is now also becoming hardwired. So that the when we do this work and we do it on a consistent basis, there are times when it seems like it's not going anywhere. There are times when the old voices, particularly people, I notice people who suffer from depression. Depression still seems to be there, but the rewiring is occurring.
Yes.
And at some point in time, we just become aware of it. It
Right.
starts manifesting itself with the same persistence that this earlier childhood traumatic response manifests itself.
Correct.
And so I just really wanted to raise that as good news, that this shift that we have made a commitment to generating with the help of our higher power is actually real. And because there's a powerful rewiring of the brain going on, it's permanent.
Yes.
And so that the work has results. The work has manifestation. It's not just something that we take on because there's nothing else that seems to work, although that may be a good reason to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, in my experience, and I know it's true in your experience, that the work yields these actual results because there is rewiring going on of the neurochemistry.
Yes.
And so now I create the neurochemistry in the direction of the world I intend to experience,
Yes.
and not just the old world where a little kid had a subconscious intention to experience that because he was going to stay safe at all costs.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
these two things are coexisting. And I suspect that the more I do this work, there's going to be even a third phase, where perhaps those old triggered responses are stripped of emotional energy, and they just show up as sort of like nudges.
Right. I've got a good example. Like scraping your toe on the shower rung, getting out of the bathtub or the shower stall. It hurts. I've done it recently, and my response was, "Ouch." And I acknowledged the scrape or the pain because it was painful. Ouch. And what I'm finding is, what I used to do was, oh, that's a dumbass move. How come you can't pick up your feet? What's wrong with you? The manufacturer of these things ought to know better than to put this shit down there. All that stuff would exacerbate the pain. The pain would last. Now I simply say, ouch. And then I feel the pain. And I do have that blip. Oh my God, something happened. That reaction response, but it's simply a blip. It's like, pay attention. And then it becomes, oh, ouch, my toe hurts. Now, with Solomon the other day, same day this other thing happened, we were playing geriatric Nerf guns. Geriatric Nerf guns is I sit in a chair and point this thing at him, and he runs around saying, "You miss me, you miss me, you miss me." Okay, so he had his little cocked Nerf gun thing, and he cocked it, and we didn't have any Nerf things in it. We were just shooting arrows at each other. He cocked it, and he got his hand in between the thumb and the forefinger pinched in there. And I saw him do it, and his eyes got big, and he goes, ah, and he figured he got it out, and he started crying. Well, he came over to me and I said, wow, that must hurt. Because I pinched that part of my hand in whatever mechanism I was doing. Ouch, that must hurt. And he came over and put his head down on my shoulder and I patted him on the back and I said, show me. And he showed me where it was. And then 2 minutes later, he was back out there doing it again. And he had regulated that pain, knowing that he was still safe. He wasn't called stupid. He wasn't called inept. I didn't go, oh, you should learn how to do that. You should know it by now. You've been doing it for like a whole 2 months. And then he did it again. About 10 minutes later, he did it again. And same thing happened. I go, oh my God, that must hurt. And he came over and he showed me and he put his head on my shoulder and I patted his back. And then he started saying, I want my mother, because his mother was at work or doing something. And I said, I know. Yeah, it would be nice if she was here. And he regulated and we went on with what we were doing. And so the intergenerational passing on of the childhood trauma has stopped here, right here. It's because I have come to the end of my accountability rope. Well, not quite the end. I'm still willing to be accountable anytime I find myself in a reaction response that is still hidden from me. I still do this work. See the value of this work in the fact that I am grateful for where I am because of this accountability process, intentional living, and I intend to do it for the rest of my life. And if something happens where I find myself in a reaction response, a judgment, or this vehemence flies out of my mouth, and sometimes that's on the freeway, I go, oh, there it is. Okay, it's an opportunity for me to heal a wound that is in alignment with my fight, flight, freeze, please response. If something happens to me that is not life-threatening, then I can respond to it as if it's not life-threatening. I can negotiate. I got another example. I was driving on the road. I was driving toward the freeway, and there was an intersection with a dead end with kind of an alleyway, and I was green light. I was going down the 2-lane. My side is 2-lane. I was in the, and I saw a car just before I got in the intersection come out, and I thought they were gonna like merge into the slow lane, and the person didn't see me and came into my lane, and I just flicked my steering wheel just a little bit. I don't know how I missed him, but then I got past him, and I found myself looking in the rearview mirror to see if he was okay. There was no yelling. There was no dumbass. There was no, what do you think you're doing? You trying to kill me? No, he was not paying attention. And I don't know what his reaction response or his fear level was. So when I looked at her, the automatic response was, how's he doing? Is he okay? Which is 180 degrees out of when I started this process. I would have been like stopping my car, stopping him, telling him he's a dumbass and making sure he knows that he's stupid. Well, that's what happened to me as a kid. When I had the experience of life just going through I used to call it being blindsided. I would get blindsided by some fracturing, abusive comment or slap or ostracization. I want to say that word is ostracization. Anyway, being ostracized. And it created this rut, this neurological pathway that is now free. Whenever it comes up, and it does, I'm not there yet, I run to accountability. Okay, what does this say about me? That I'm judgmental, I'm mean, it's my road. It's like I pay my taxes. I don't go there anymore. And if I do, okay, this is about my control, or this is about my neediness, or this is about my arrogance. And I simply sit with that truth and breathe. And I go, oh, wow, okay, is my intent to be kind, or is my intent to be observant? Or one that I didn't realize for a long time, tend to be a defender. Oh my God. It's like, wow.
I intend to be what? We had a little blip there for a second.
I intend to be a defensive driver.
Got it.
to be aware
Yeah.
that there's other people on the road that are like me and just don't see the other person. I mean, when you get in an accident, it's not like you see him and you go hit. It's like you don't see that person. Otherwise, you would. I mean, it just makes sense. But I used to think accidents, they did it on purpose. What are they doing? They need to have their driver's license taken away. Whatever I went to in the judgment and blame.
I always
Everything.
get, I
So,
always get, my reaction is, where's my gun?
yeah, where's my gun? Yeah, that
But I
used
want
to
to
be
tell you,
mine
I
too.
want
I
to tell
had
you
a,
how this works on the other side, just kind of for fun, is sometimes I find I'm that guy that pulled out and didn't see. And
yes.
so this happened to me just the other day. There was a guy in my blind spot on my left, and I thought I had looked and didn't see, and I went to move over, and I hear this horn honking at me, and I pull back in the
Hmm.
lane, and I turned and I went and waved, like, yep, I did that. And just sort of
Hmm.
like, yeah, oof, yes, I didn't mean to do that to you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
or, like, boom. So I find
Yeah.
myself willing to own when I do that, when I make a mistake on the road. And
Hmm.
that's a difference, because in the other days, somebody would honk and I'd give the finger, and, like you said, we'll get into
Right.
escalation territory real easily. It's like,
Hmm.
no, I did that. That's accountability. I did that. What do I
Yep.
want? I want to be, I want to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how these things work on both sides of the steering wheel, as it were.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is talk about the the word I use here is, it's oftentimes a word that tends to have a negative connotation for some reason, but there's discipline that's involved here. And that is, if I really want to create this neurological shift in my mind, I have to work at it.
Hmm.
I have to work at it. I have to go to the meetings. I have to be willing to use the meetings to learn, which means finding every opportunity to use and apply the accountability tree to whatever experience that I've had, walk through it, go have that practice of telling the truth. And telling the truth is more important than being afraid of being ashamed or being ostracized or whatever. Like learning to tell the truth. Yes, I screwed up and moved over in that lane of traffic, and I could have I could have looked better. And so now I'm going to learn to look even better next time.
Hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I had extreme difficulty with was admitting wrongdoing or
Yeah.
failing. Now, as a child, if I admitted I was abused or ostracized or told at least, oh, that was stupid, don't do that again. Um, so the admittance of guilt is a invitation for you're going to get this. You deserve this. It hurts me more than it hurts you. And I wouldn't do this to you if you hadn't done. And this is for your own good.
Right.
It's like so
Did we
I
have the
had
same parents?
yeah, uh, I had this ad, advertence to being wrong or failing. I wouldn't, and that's it. In that, have you ever been in an argument with somebody in the middle of the argument? I did not want to be wrong. I would I would get personal in the argument. I start making it about them. I start berating them instead of carrying on my argument. I just call them stupid or you dumbass or you and get away from the argument without having to admit, oh my God, I was mistaken. And now I can say, oh yeah, I did that. Wow, yeah, no, that thinking, I can see that thinking's not, and admit a something I didn't know, something I failed at, or something that I did that impacted somebody in an advertent way that was either hurtful or damaging. I can go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, without this reaction response of I'm going to get annihilated, because I know in real time now, based on the practice, having the discipline, and anyway, I want to offer, I taught this. So it's like one of the, what do you call it, admonitions, if you teach whatever you want to learn. So I was a teacher of accountability because I needed to learn accountability. So in learning accountability by offering it to other people, I slowly became willing to be wrong, willing to fail, and willing to look foolish or be embarrassed. One of the hardest things for me pre-recovery was simply to feel embarrassed. And I would hurt myself, or I'd hurt somebody else if I got embarrassed. I would go to blame, I'd go to attack mode, or I'd go into self-deprecating mode and stay there for like a long period of time, sometimes years. Like, why, you dumbass? Why'd you do that? Why'd you say that? Why didn't you do this? Instead of just going, oh, that was embarrassing. Now when I get embarrassed, and I do, I said, how red is my face? Because I am hella embarrassed right now. Is my face red? Because it should be, because I'm feeling flushed right now. That was embarrassing. So I can feel, and that's one of the 4 constants of relationship in the intentional living material. Says one of the third constant is move towards your pain or awkwardness or discomfort or embarrassment. Stay with that, because now I understand that all human beings do things at times that are embarrassing, and it's okay. And now it's a bonding moment with somebody, where before it was a moment of separation or a moment of accusation or accusatory. Now it's simply, oh, wow, yeah, I did say that, and it's a place where we can bond now. So,
Well, you make me think about the reality of all of our human experience is physiologically based. So even that emotional response, it's part of the way the organism is created and organized.
yes,
Embarrassment, fear, joy,
yes,
these reactions are built into the process, so that now I'm going to say, so that, like, I know why God did this way, or whoever, so that we can actually be embodied in our experience of the moment.
yes.
So imagine having no emotion. Imagine being utterly devoid of emotion. I mean, I mean, I can't even imagine what life would be if we had no emotions. So it's hardwired into the organism, just like the way the brain chemistry works in response. I love this term, the reaction response that we had as children.
Mm-hmm.
So too is the emotional output
Mm-hmm.
from whatever stimulus is coming in, and there's an emotional response. And the truth also is, see if you agree with me on this, or maybe you have a different perspective, but as I do my accountability, I actually have influence on my emotional response, because I can shift because I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, and community. I can shift from fear being my primary response to things to joy being my primary response to things. That the emotional shift goes with this neurological shift that intentional living and accountability has allowed me to create.
Yes.
So, for example, when I stub my toe and I have that immediate reaction, you clumsy fool, what I tend to also do is laugh,
Mm-hmm.
and just laugh at that, at the immediacy and the regularity of that response, the utter never changing nature of that response that shows up when I stub my toe.
Yeah, the
And now
critical
there's a sense of joy, or maybe joy isn't the right word, but certainly a sense of humor that it's like, oh yeah, there it is. I expected it to change, and it didn't.
mind. Yeah. Um, I lost your question.
Well, it wasn't a question, it was an observation that as we allow accountability to change our neurological processing, that also includes our emotional response.
Yes, it puts it. I want to use the term state of being.
Okay.
Before my recovery, I was in a state of being of hypervigilance, um, inundated with adrenaline, cortisoids, and whatever the stressor molecule chemistry is. That was my state of being. So I was hypervigilant, and I didn't know about the subconscious trauma wounding being a motivational factor for my responses, reaction responses. Now I'm in this state of awareness to where I am actually creating a different body chemistry.
Right.
I learned one time that the tears of joy have a different chemical makeup than the tears of sadness. And so that reinforces my concept that emotions create body chemistry. Well, everybody knows that serotonin is the feel-good drug because they sell a lot of Prozac because they want a serotonin reuptake inhibitor so that you're balanced. Okay, well, we can create that serotonin just like I created the adrenaline based on my experience and then the beliefs, perceptions, and patterns of behavior that develop from the childhood trauma. I can also create the serotonin, and I can do that now in ACA, the Adult Children of Alcoholics 12-step group. They call it loving reparenting myself in a loving way. So when I stub my toe, instead of what my parents did, well, you dumbass, pick up your foot, I go, oh, that hurt. Oh, yeah, that hurt. That's nurturing. And that nurturing, and when I nurture my grandson instead of chastise him, it helps him regulate those body chemistries, because in a minute and a half he's fine. He's moved back. He's not stuck in that cortisol thing by me humiliating him or telling me stupid or get it right, you little dumbass. I don't do that. And so his body is learning that it has a modicum of he can take an action based on what happened to him. It's called proaction. I almost used the word control there, and it's not about control. It's about regulating your emotional body based on real time. Now, did that pinching his between his thumb and finger hurt? Yeah, it hurt. I know that feeling. It hurt, and he acknowledged it. I acknowledged the pain. I didn't tell him, don't cry, you're a boy, be a big boy. I just said, I see that hurt, and nurtured him so that he could self-regulate and get back into telling me I missed him when I shoot at him. It's like, miss me again, Grandpa, miss me again. I got you. You're shot. How come you're not acting like you're dead, Grandpa? How come you're not going like, do this? He's just like his boy play, learning about himself place. And that's where children learn about how to be in their bodies, is through play. I wasn't allowed to play rambunctiously or go outside and play or get away from me. You're bothering me. So I'm excited to have this conversation. At least I'm excited to have this conversation.
Well, to wrap up, the good news is that a human being, you and I, anybody watching this, we are body minds.
Yes.
We are neither a body nor a mind, but we are a body mind where the mind and the body work as a seamless one, even though that's not our experience of it, because our mind is capable of dissociating our unified experience. And part of the reason why accountability works is because we are a body mind. And so the brain, which is the body, responds to the intentionality of the mind that is engaged in a different kind of partnership and accountability. So I when I do my accountability practice and I tell the truth about myself, particularly something I've avoided saying because I'm afraid of being embarrassed, ashamed, attacked, isolated, whatever, I tell that truth, and then I actually get to experience genuine emotional response, not adrenaline or something that's a substitute,
Right.
but it's a genuine, authentic response. And that authenticness is the beginning of the shift of my electrochemistry. And if I do this enough times, and I don't know what the number is, but there is a number. If I do this enough times, then there is a new groove, to use your term, which I like. There's a new groove that gets created in my neurochemistry. There's a new pathway. And that new pathway, the more it gets exercised, the deeper it becomes, so that I have this experience now where the old response shows up, but the new response shows up simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if and as I do this work and I focus on it and I don't worry about how long it's going to take, I just keep doing it, I'm going to see a real shift. You were able to join our Rusty Nail meeting last night, and you got to witness another person talk about a major shift in her life from doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
and being committed and persistent and speaking her intentions and being willing to go into the emotional feeling that the truth rate that she didn't want to talk about, didn't want to face, what brought up for her.
Right.
And I don't know what you saw, but I've seen a complete shift in her physical body. And
Yeah.
there's a sense of glowing
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't there when we first met. So that's also electrochemical. I mean,
Yes.
that's also the body responding to a whole new, what was the term you said, state of being?
State of being.
A new state of being that she created with the support of her higher power through her intention.
Yes.
She did that. You didn't do it. I didn't do it.
No.
She did it.
No, we gave her the information.
Right.
You gave her the information. I gave her the information. She chose to use it.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I saw the same thing. I've seen the shift.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable and in alignment with the practice of accountability.
Exactly.
And I wanted to say, the first time anybody owns a character defect or tells the truth about where they find themselves, this process starts.
Yep.
And it's like people say, "Well, how long is it going to take me?" I don't know. What are you doing for the next 5 years? It's like, if you're doing something important, go ahead and come back when you got time. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna practice it. It says in the big book, if you're willing to do whatever it takes, and the willingness is there, and if you're willing, this cannot not work. I'm grateful to have been blessed with this information that I share, and blessed to see the results of it, and in my own life. I mean, I'm blessed in more ways than I could have dreamed of. Or one of the promises of the program is that you will come to a life you never knew possible. Well, I want to say I have come to a life that I had no inkling existed. And it came to me through this practice of accountability, this practice of paying attention. You could put it in a word that's used all over the place, and it's an acute mindfulness. It's a mindfulness in the moment. Wow, I'm mean. And people want to be mindful, but my assumption is they want to be mindful and happy. Well, okay. When we first start, it's going to be mindful and, oh my God, look where I'm at. Look at the mess I'm in. Happy comes with the awareness and the adjustment and the willingness. Guaranteed.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I'm agreeing with you, John. So anybody who's watching this for the first time, or maybe this is the 100th time, and you'd like to participate in an accountability meeting, which is the place to experience this for yourself. Don't hear us talk about it, but come on over and do it for yourself. My email address and John's email address will be at the end of the podcast, and you can get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to send you invitations. Our meetings are on Zoom. We have Monday night, Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific time, and Saturday morning at 8:30, all Pacific time. And come on and join us and ask questions, or just watch and observe, or jump in feet first, whatever. So John, thanks for your time today. And I look forward to continuing this conversation next week.
Got it. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, John.